What's going on, everybody? What's happening? What's shaking? What's doing? Welcome to episode 210 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. My name's Dave McCrae, coming to you live from the Voiceman Studios in Toronto, Canada. He's Tony Michael in Atlanta, Georgia. Tonight, we're talking some Blair Witch, some Blair Blumwitch, Blumhouse, the remake. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live! That's right, folks. Blumhouse, Lionsgate teaming up together. This was announced at CinemaCon 2024 or 2025. It's been a little bit, it's been a while, but nonetheless, that's what we're talking about tonight. The Blair Witch Project, one of, whether you liked it or not, whether you love it or you hate it or whatever the case is, it is an iconic horror film released, I believe, in August. It was August, I believe, 1999. And they've had a sequel, Book of Shadows, in the year 2000, I think it was. And then they had that sort of sequel kind of thing just called Blair Witch. And listen, it's been nearly 30 years, hard to believe, 27 years since that movie came out. And Blumhouse, Jason Blum, he's got his little paws on everything. He wants to remake, he is remaking the Blair Witch Project, and Tony and I are going to talk about it tonight, what we think maybe they should do or what makes the original special. What you got to watch for, all that kind of jazz. Tony, how you doing?
Good. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like, how do you do the elements of like what they did originally with the movie, right? You can't do that again, right? It's not going to work. We know the cat's out of the bag. We know the secret. So do you just go and like do a soft reboot, hard reboot? Like, is it a remake? Like, I mean, it's interesting to see what they do with this. Obviously, my hope is they still stick within the found footage. I like the original Blair Witch. It's one of my go-to Halloween seasonal movies to watch every year. But like, yeah, man, like how do you're obviously not going to catch the same lightning in the bottle with it like you did the first time. That is not going to happen. So it's like, what do you do? How would, like, from a filmmaker point of view, I guess my question would be to you is like, what would you do in that situation? Do you just remake it? And so it's like, okay, we're going to recycle what we did, or do you try to do a fresh take on it instead of making it found footage, make it more movie driven? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not do it as found footage.
It's a good question. We're going to dive right into it. The most recent news on this, of course, was just about a month or so ago. I'm reading from Bloody Disgusting, and it says 2 years after, it's been 2 years since they announced this, 2 years after Lionsgate and Blumhouse announced that they were teaming up for a new Blair Witch project, teaming up on a new Blair Witch project, the film finally seems to be moving forward. Daniel Richman alleges that Dylan Clark, who's set to make his feature directorial debut on Universal's Portrait of God with producers Sam Raimi and Jordan Peele, is attached to helm the remake. Jason Blum will produce the new take on the seminal found footage horror classic alongside Roy Lee, who helped produce Weapons and It. Directed by Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez, the Blair Witch Project follows 3 film students who vanish in the Maryland woods while shooting a documentary on a local legend, leaving only their footage behind. The 1999 movie was produced for around $60,000 and earned $248.6 million at the global box office, making it one of the most successful independent films of all time. It was followed by Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2 in the year 2000, and Blair Witch in 2016, but neither could capture, as Tony just said, the lightning in a bottle of the original. Perhaps Clark will be the one to beat the curse.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe that the Blair Witch, the original, is the highest investment to return ratio as well too. Like what it costs to make versus to what they made in the return on the profit. I think.
I don't know, but it's certainly one of them. And I know that when it was...
I'm not sure if anything else has... Yeah, I'm not sure if anything is... I have to double check that. But
yeah.
I think for a while it held that record of,
it did.
Of investment to return ratio of...
It was at one point the highest grossing independent film of all time, and certainly still is one of the highest grossing independent films of all time. The original Paranormal Activity might be more.
Well, that I know, but I also think Paranormal had a higher budget.
I don't think it did.
Than Blair Witch.
I don't think it did. I think it had a lower budget. Yeah, I think it was only like 20 grand. Oh yeah, I think it was only about 20 grand.
I thought it was like around 6 figures.
I don't think so.
Right.
Chat room could let us know. Chat room is always on it. But nonetheless, so here's the situation. So Blumhouse wants to remake it, and they are looking to, do something.
Am I tripping, or is your camera focusing in and out? Is anybody else seeing that?
Well, no, it's
kind of like trying to like focus it. Yeah,
right
there.
You're watching through the it's not on it's not on the stream.
Okay.
You can see it, but it's not happening on the stream.
It's tripping me out.
No.
It's like strobing. Dave's strobing. Like,
no, because the camera that you see me on is not the same camera that they see me on. I have two cameras side by side.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can fix that for you though. 1 second. Let me just fix that for Tony here. Give me a second, folks. It's just the autofocus.
It's just like constantly going on and off, and I'm like, does he know that's going on? Like that's happening?
Okay, there you go. Now you're good. It won't happen now. Right. So Blair Witch Project. Yeah. So listen, it's no surprise that they want to do this. One of the most successful, horror films of all time. But to your point, Tony, it is unlikely. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if that's out there yet. I mean, it is still in development. I mean, it's been greenlit in the sense of that they are moving forward with it, but it is in the development process. And so
they could take the what was that found footage film that I will never watch again, and it forever scarred me for life? Cannibal Holocaust. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, that movie. So now, if you've ever watched Cannibal Holocaust, you know that it's kind of split between being like a feature film and then found footage. So they kind of go back and forth between the two. To give it a fresh take, you could do that, but if you're going to recycle and essentially do the same pattern, I don't know. Like, I just think it's going to get a lot of hate for that.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's possible. I mean, it's just the kind of thing where, when the movie came out in 1999, the original, it was a cultural phenomenon because it's very much a product of its time, and it's very much its success came from, not to take anything away from the movie, but its success came largely from its marketing machine and the idea that this was real. Now, I know there are people that come out today that laugh and think, how could you think this was real? All the kids today, how could you think this was real? There are even those who were our age back then who come out today going, well, I always knew it was fake. I always knew it was fake. Well, there was a point hang on a sec. There was a point in the marketing, certainly when the movie was finally released and the cast was winding up on talk shows. Yeah, okay, now you put it together. But in the lead up to that movie, and shortly even after the film was released, the film had a bit of a buffer. Yes, after it was in the theater for like a month, of course everybody knew, but there was a week or two.
With that first, right?
Yeah, but there was a week or two there where it was starting to fool. It fooled a lot of people. Now, I can tell you that I knew it was not real, but there were a lot of people that did think it was real. This was 1999. The internet, for all intents and purposes, was in its infancy. When I say that, I mean it's not what it is today. The internet in 1999 was, Yahoo Chat, Hotmail, and, downloading Jennifer Love Hewitt photos, which would take 9 hours to load on your screen, and dial up. I mean, that was the internet. And so it was very easy to fool people at that time, and it was one of the first films to utilize the internet in such a massive way in terms of marketing. And so that played a huge role into the film's success and box office. Not that it's not a, good movie in its own right. It's an acquired taste. Some people might like, but it had that it's the found footage, yada, yada, yada. We know all this. Well, now it's 2026. And so you can't capture that same zeitgeist lightning in a bottle that you were talking about, Tony, today by making people feel and think that it's real. Because we know it's not real. Nobody's going to think it's real. It's never going to happen again. So to your point, what do you do? What do you do in remaking the Blair Witch Project? Because as far as I know, this isn't a sequel. This is a remake of the 1999 film. Remake. That doesn't mean they're not going to do some things differently. Maybe the people in it will be, different names, or maybe it'll be in a different location or something. I don't know. But what do you do that, like, they say to you, you can't rely on people thinking this is real, which was like 85% of your success, back in the day. So what do you do that isn't just going to be another pedestrian found footage horror movie? What do you do? I have a couple things in mind, but I'll let you give your thoughts there.
No, go ahead.
Well, okay.
What I asked you.
Oh, fair enough. Well, one of the things, okay, so we know it's not real. Okay, so we can't rely on our naivety in 1999. You went and saw it in the theater, right? I think you were on a date or something, weren't you, or something like that?
No, I was a group of friends.
A group of friends, okay.
Okay. Yeah, friends that I graduated high school. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I went to see it with this girl who was my friend, but also I had a huge crush on her. And we went to see it August 1999. And I remember walking home with her that night, and it was like 12 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And you're walking home and everything becomes scary at that time. You know what I mean? But anyways, great memories. And so one of the things that I think is important, you can't rely on us knowing conscious or us believing that it is real. You can't rely on that, but you can help create the illusion that it is. Everyone going into the remake is going to know this is not real, but in the presentation, you can help create the illusion. It's so well done, so well crafted that it almost tricks you into believing that it is. And one of the things that I think you need to do is lo-fi, if you know what I'm saying. Lo-fi. And so a film that is not polished, a film that it doesn't have polished production value. Because one of the things that Blair Witch in 2016 had was modern, polished production value, mixing. Not just the way it looked, but in terms of the sound, it was professionally mixed, mastered, surround sound, 5.1, whatever it was, right? I mean, like whatever they did. I don't know what they did. I'd have to go and have a look. But it was a modern film. It makes sense, totally. It didn't ruin the movie or anything, but it was when you want us.
Even like with the tech they were using in that film, I'm like, this is not the same tech. The footage you're showing me is not the tech they're using.
Right.
You're trying to make me believe that this is a Canon camera.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Well, and it's important, especially with sound. It's important that if you want me to believe that whatever is happening in the environment, I have to believe and feel like the sounds or the screams or the creature, whatever it is, sounds like it's in the space that it's taking place. And one of the great things about the Blair Witch Project from 1999, the original, of course, is that it was borderline home movie. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that was going to be my question for you. You said about lo-fi, because I love especially lo-fi music. Is it possible, it could exceed their budget, because now you're talking film, but do you do the old school handheld that they did plus the 16 millimeter that Josh was holding?
16. I think it was 16.
Black and white.
I'm pretty
right?
sure it was 16.
When they would switch. So that's my question. Do you use one of those HD film cameras from back in the day to make this movie along with the 16 millimeter black film? Give it that lo-fi, gritty, authentic feel to it.
Well, I guess it would depend on when you're setting this remake. Because is this a remake that's set in the 90s? Is it a remake that's set in the 70s? Maybe they want to utilize the 70s and that. And if it is, then it would be, Super 16 or High 8 or Super 8 or whatever it is. It would be film. And then I would recommend, no, you shoot it on film. Film is way more expensive to shoot on than digital, but it's Blumhouse. Come on, man. Fork over that money, spend that money. But it's unlikely that they're going to, you see, the thing with the Blair Witch Project again, is that this was, it was so lo-fi in terms of the actors. They got together, they had notes from the director. The director wasn't even there. It was just notes. Yeah. They went out into the woods shooting it themselves. Improvised. Right. They had things they needed to say and get across, and they did it. They weren't DPs. They weren't camera operators. They weren't, they were just, weren't
they film students essentially? Right? And they saw an ad and
they were actors. They were actors. Yeah. I think they had I think there was like a quick sort of overview on how to, use this, press this, that kind of stuff. But it had that very I don't want to say amateur, but very real world, amateur, for lack of a better word, feel to just how things were. It wasn't, whereas Blair Witch 2029 or whatever the hell it's going to be, we don't know, the release date yet, is going to be, you're going to have a crew, you're going to have, a first AD, you're going to have a second AD, you're going to have a props department and a makeup effects artist, and you're going to have, camera operator and first AC and second AC and lens changes, and not that it shouldn't. I'm just saying that very low budget, real world vibe was part of its success. And if you're going to remake the Blair Witch Project, I think that's an important distinction to keep in mind. Obviously, I don't know if you can do it exactly the same way now, but maybe you can. But I think sorry, I'll just say that creating a low budget, a real world, a real world environment with the sound, so that when shit hits the fan, it doesn't sound overproduced. Like when what's her face in the original, I forget all the characters' names now, but Heather, right? And who are the guys? Heather and
Mike and Josh.
Mike and Josh, right? So is Josh the one that she's yelling out to from the tent? Right? I think she's yelling like, "Josh, where are you, man?" Like. It really, wasn't...
Josh is he's the first one to go missing.
Yeah. And so that audio was captured in that environment, right. and so it sounds very much
design. Like... They don't have a boom mic.
Well, there would have been some...
You know what I mean?
Yeah. There would have been some treating in post just to kind of, but in terms of the capturing of it and just the way it sounds and you hear the environment and the crunching of the I highly doubt they did ADR where they're getting everybody into the booths. We got a crunch on the ground and no, it's just real crunching. It's in the environment. It's in the moment. It's real lived in, a home movie feel, amateur stuff, which helps to create the illusion that this is real. Like Bob just went out into the woods with his phone. You know what I mean? So what you're hearing is the audio on the phone. You're not hearing it mixed and mastered in Dolby 7.1 surround. You're not hearing it like that. You're just hearing it lo-fi in the moment. And although the audience goes in knowing this isn't real, that presentation helps to create the illusion that it is. And so that I think is really important if you want to have a successful remake of the Blair Witch Project, because a lot of found footage movies that have come after are too polished and too overly produced. Even the Paranormal Activity movies, they're not, And so anyways, I think that's an important sort of, distinction. And to your point, maybe you do. Maybe you go out and shoot it on film. Maybe you send them, but we don't even know what the remake's going to be. What do you think it should be, Tony?
Well, there's two sides to this, right? So, okay, if you set it in modern times, like currently, then I already know the elements they're going to bring into it to give it that authentic feel of today's culture. You're going to have social media, right? They're going to probably utilize that, follow us, and we're going to post updates, and right there, I'm checked out. If they do that, I'm checked out of the movie. Anything that involves bringing in modern technology, social media. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't work. It worked with Unfriended. Love that fucking movie. They used Skyping each other, right? And brought in some elements of the technology of, what did that come out? 2016-ish?
Unfriended? 2000? No.
Yeah.
What? No, I thought it was...
Was that even longer ago than that? I don't know.
Well,
Time flies.
Did we watch it? We watched it, right?
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't remember when it came out.
A very good movie.
So anyways, but it works, right?
Screen Life movie, they're called.
Yes. Now, if you set it modern time, so that means you're going to use digital cameras, right? You're either going to use Canon, Nikon, Sony, Panasonic, whatever. It's not going to have that same feel and vibe. Even with your cell phone, same thing. It's not going to have that same feel and vibe to the original film. I would, if you can spare it and, budget it, I would use the cameras that they used in the original film.
Right.
To give it that gritty, take away cell phones, because the feeling of being lost in the woods today is almost like impossible with GPS. Like, our phones have such great satellite, and signal. Now, I'm not saying that you can't go to dead spots. I know you can go to dead spots, and I know you can go to dead spots in the woods. But you know what I'm saying, like, overall. And then, of course, there's other GPS type technology that we have out there that, if you don't have the cell phones, find a way GPS, it will use the satellites that are up there to keep tracking you, so you know where to go. So you essentially, with the tech we have today, you can't get lost if you have the tech available to you.
Yeah, it's very difficult. Yeah,
very, very difficult. And if you're someone who's going out into the middle of the woods, I would expect in 2026 that you're going to have pretty much all the proper gear to go out there to ensure your safety. All right. So now, if we set it back in 1994, which is when the original film is set in, even though it came out in 99, then, okay, let's think of the technology in 94. And it's not like you got to worry about a whole lot of set designs, right? Because they spend most of the time in the woods, except for a few shots around town. Okay, so cool. Find some charming, quaint towns. If you can't do it in the same place where they filmed the original film, find some spots where it has, kind of an historic look. There's a lot down here in the South, and I'm sure there are all over the country. You don't have to necessarily stay in Maryland location, but you're only talking about a handful of scenes where you need to maybe dress it up to look like the early 90s, right? That's it. And then, boom, you're off into the woods. And, you got to give them a card that's from the 90s. And, what? That's what cost you, $1 million?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. But yeah, I think I think you're right. I think if they're going to set it today, which is probably what they're going to do. I mean, this is Blumhouse and Lionsgate. So basically it sounds like they want to modernize the Blair Witch Project, being true to the, original, of course, but modernize it. But they're calling it a remake. Again, as of this show right now, as of April the 29th, 2026, as far as I know, we still don't know what this story is going to be. They're calling it a remake. Will it be a soft remake? Will it be like a 2018 Halloween type remake, reboot, requel? Is it going to be set or is it kind of like a sequel, but it's set in the same universe years later? I hope not. I hope that they do just remake it, and I don't want to see a sequel and have to concentrate on all the other shit, and think about timelines and continuity and stuff. Free yourself up, let go of the shackles, and just remake it. But you're right. If it's remade for today's audiences, they're going to want to, social media, cell phones, smartphones, drones, whatever the case is. And it doesn't mean it can't be great. It just feels like once you start to introduce that kind of thing at face value, again, we have no idea what the story is yet. We could read the story and be like, oh, you know what? That's actually pretty good. That's actually not bad. And, some promise there.
What you could do is you could actually set it in the 80s and use the big camcorders that we had in the 80s.
Yes.
Which was VHS tape, by the way, which was VHS.
Yeah.
So you still got the VHS feel for it. You could do that and set it in the 80s. I don't know if the 80s nostalgia has run its course. I know Stranger Things kind of brought it back, but Stranger Things now is done and over with. So I don't know if people are still feeling the 80s nostalgia vibe, or do you just set it in 1994?
I would say you're frozen.
Because then you got the handheld, smaller cameras. What happened?
You're frozen on my screen. You're not frozen.
Really?
No, you're not frozen on the other thing, but you're frozen there for some reason.
No, I'm frozen on the
on YouTube. Yeah.
No, are you sure?
Yeah. Let me see if I can try you again. 1 second. Get you back in there. Here we go. Oh. All right. That should. Now, yeah, there you go. Now you're back. You're back.
Okay.
So, no,
did the vocals go away? Like,
nope,
did they miss any of what we were just saying?
Nope, not at all. The 80s is a good decade. I agree.
I just didn't think of how big those camcorders were. The smaller ones does make it a little bit more easier.
It does.
If you do 90s, right?
No, it does. It does. But I guess when somebody says to me they're remaking the Blair Witch Project, my first instinct, like I said, is I look at what made the Blair Witch Project. And there are those two things, maybe a few things that made it, right? Like we just said, the fact that most people at some point thought it was real. And because of the era for which the marketing was, one of the first movies ever to take full advantage of the internet. It was a cultural phenomenon. That's part of why it became so huge. The other reason is because it really was just people out in the woods. There was no crew. There was no first AD, second AD, first AC, second AC, director, camera operator, and makeup effects and key grip and gaffer and grips. There was none of that. Literally none of that. It was literally the three of them. I don't mean literally like how people often use the word, my head literally exploded. Well, no, it didn't, because you'd be dead. No, I mean, it was literally just the three of them. And it was very low budget. Take this note, go out into the woods, shoot this. Here's what you have to get today. Here's what you have to shoot today. Here's the conversation. Do some improvising. They talked a bit about it beforehand, obviously. I mean, I don't mean that it was like completely secret. They learned how to use the cameras and things like that. But ultimately, that's what they did. And that's why it has that spontaneous, in the moment, real world feel. That's part of the reason why it does. And a lot of found footage movies after the fact don't necessarily. Although the first couple of Paranormal Activities weren't too bad, and then they became so hyper stylized. You're just like, I don't believe this is happening at all. This is ridiculous. And so
solid, but after that, I'm just no.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I think that it's going to be a tough thing to remake. How do you remake the Blair Witch Project? It sounds
and
more
create that excitement to get people to want to go see it.
Right, because it feels to me, and again, I'm not saying it's impossible, but because of those factors, it feels to me that a remake of the Blair Witch Project will be a very different experience, a very different film. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Right? That's not necessarily a bad thing. But I'm very curious, and I'm not going to sit here and say that it's impossible. I'm just very curious based on the things we're talking about. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, they could do like what I was saying. They could do the whole like make a movie with found footage tied into the movie. You could do it to where it's almost like a detective type movie where the detectives are going out into the woods to look for these kids, and you're seeing these sequences of events that were happening to them as they're looking at the footage and stuff like that. So you can actually have the footage found, they're reviewing this footage, and they're trying to find these kids, and what the hell happened to them. So
Right,
I mean, like,
right,
again,
yeah.
again, if you're trying to put a fresh spin on this movie to give it a fresh look, because again, I just don't know how you get people excited if you're going to essentially remake the movie. Well, I have the fucking movie. Like, you now as a Blumhouse, you have to entice me to want to go pay money to see a movie that I already have.
Right. Well, and
how to get something fresh.
Yes, and I think in typical Blumhouse fashion, or in typical modern horror studio making sensibilities today, I think it will likely be a hybrid of a few things. It will be a remake for all intents and purposes. You are remaking that original film, but in that same process, you are reimagining the story for a modern audience. I mean, I don't know how else you do it, because I don't think that, you and that reimagining, whatever that reimagining part is, and that's the story, that's the structure, that's the execution, whatever that is, has a lot to live up to. Because again, for those of you that are maybe watching live or after the fact that maybe weren't alive at the time or maybe weren't old enough at the time, it might sound kind of funny to think that, really, you guys thought it was real. But, again, 1999, the internet was in its infancy, no social media, no smartphones. Nobody even had, people had cell phones, but I didn't have a cell phone. It was usually your parents, who had a cell phone.
Well, yeah, because you have a whole generation of kids who have grown up that have only known social media and technology.
Of course.
There was a time in our lifetime, none of this shit existed.
100%. And again, the internet was there, but it was just Yahoo, Hotmail, and dial-up. I mean, it was
we didn't spend any time on it.
No. I didn't have my first email address till I was nearly 20 years old, or I was 19, excuse me. And the only reason I got it. Sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it's just I thought there was a delay there. I was just going to say, and the only reason why I got it was because I wanted to email a girl that I liked in high school who said, "Are you online? Are you online? Are you online?" I mean, that's how far. Are you online? Am I online? Nobody says that anymore, right? The internet was a place you went to log into, and then you went away. It was like doing the dishes. You did it, and then you left, and now we're always connected. Anyways, but so it was a very different time. And again, not to beat a dead horse, but that cultural impact, that marketing machine exploited the infancy and the naivety of the internet and people and our connection to and all that kind of stuff brilliantly. And now we don't have that. And so I don't know.
I didn't even know about all this stuff on the internet at that time, because I wasn't on the internet in 99. I just saw the trailers, and it looked like, wow, okay, this is interesting. Like, it looked like a real legit movie. I mean, at first, I was.
Well, it looked like a documentary almost. Yeah.
Right. And I was like, why are they releasing a documentary as a movie? Like, it just made no sense to me. Like, I couldn't wrap my head around it again in 1999. And I wasn't going on to like the internet to look up, because I didn't. I mean, yes, I had access to it, as far as like going to the library and stuff. But like, I was like you, I was such a late bloomer. I mean, I don't know when I got my first email, but it probably was at the radio station, because we all had to have emails at the radio station. So that was like at like 2000. But I didn't even join social media. Dude, this is how late to the party I was, like on Facebook, social media, till like around 2011. Like, I was like a few years behind it. Yeah. Not saying I wasn't unaware of it, but like, I just felt like it was such a waste of time. Like, it just made no sense. Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't get what people, like, I knew about MySpace. I had MySpace. I never really used it, which I actually liked MySpace. Out of all the social media platforms we have seen birthed and you know, have experienced, I think MySpace was probably my favorite because you could design and do cool shit here, you know, wall like that. And essentially you were connected with just your friends. You weren't like random people, and you weren't worried about followers or, you know, whatever and whatnot. It was just, you were just connected to your local network, and it was cool.
Yeah. I didn't have MySpace. The first social media that I ever had was Facebook, and it wasn't until 2009. That's when I got it. I held off for quite a few years. Yeah, I had no.
So yeah,
no interest.
I had MySpace. As far as joining Facebook, so I don't think of MySpace as part of social media because it kind of came before all that, and it didn't hang in there. Once Zuckerberg opened up Facebook from just being a college, because at one point you had to be in college in order to get on Facebook. It was not accessed for everybody. You had to have a college email address in order to be on Facebook. So that's why I had MySpace for a while, and that's been Facebook or Instagram or any of that until around 2011. And then I stopped using MySpace because nobody was using it. So like I really didn't have anything going on. And then boom, I got onto to Facebook. But yeah, so when this movie came out in '99, I wasn't on the internet. I wasn't looking at any of those marketing things. That all I saw was the trailer. It caught my interest. Like, all right. But I was confused. Like, why are we like, it's a documentary. You know what I mean? And like, all you saw was like in 1994, 3 college students, and you hear the sound design of the Blair Witch and whatever. And that was it until we saw the movie.
Yeah.
That was a whole nother recipe in itself, because it was like 50-50 when we walked out of the movie theater. So like I said, I saw it with a group of friends. First of all, I told that story. I've said it many times. I was beyond high. I was like balls to the walls. I had smoked too much that. And that in itself, and watching the Blair Witch for the first time, was not a good combination. I went into full paranoia mode. Bad combination. But I remember my buddy Wayne and my other buddy George that I was really good for, that shared up. There was like kind of like my first roommates after high school. And they were pissed. Like, fucking Dory's standing in the fucking corner and then the movie just fucking ends. I don't understand this bullshit. Like, I just remember them like being so pissed at the end of the movie when we went out of the theater. Like, my friend Amanda's like trying to calm me down because I'm still like in paranoid mode still, and like just like in my own headspace from smoking too much. But I remember my buddy George and Wayne just really pissed. I mean, pissed. Like angry pissed, like, what the fuck is this dumb shit? Dude, just standing in the fucking corner. I don't fucking get this bullshit.
Yeah. Look, I agree, you know, with everything you've said. I wasn't, look, I had a Hotmail email address, which I still have that Hotmail email address, by the way. I don't really use it anymore, but I still have it.
At the radio station, we were AOL.com.
Yeah. And that was my extent of being online in 1999. And then, of course, I would go on Yahoo to look up Jennifer Love Hewitt photos or, you know, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Do you remember that?
Of course. Yeah. But I will say that again, I wait with curiosity, because obviously it's, you know, the original is, whether you like the original or not, it was a cultural zeitgeist film, and, you know, an icon of a very specific genre of horror. And it has its place, certainly, in the, you know, broader pop culture zeitgeist forever. It is the original film, whether you like it or not, because of its cultural footprint and how it sprung onto the scene. It's a legendary film. And
I was going to say, I'm going to exclude movies like Titanic, because that was a pop culture phenomenon.
Well, that's a different thing altogether. That's the highest grossing movie in history.
I'm going to exclude Titanic, the Harry Potter films, the Twilight films, stuff that kind of really, Blair Witch in the horror genre. I'm trying to think now. Since that movie, I don't think there has been a horror film that has reached that level of popularity that it did when it first came out. I'm talking that initial run, the popularity of it.
Yeah,
how heavily it was talked about in those initial 8 to 12 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. Horror. I'm not talking like
no. Yeah, of course, of course.
Or believe me, I know. I was around for the Twilight freaking craze. I get it. I'm trying to think. Has been a horror movie since that film that has impacted pop culture and really went mainstream in the last 20. How long has it been since that movie came out? 6 years.
27 years. 27 years.
I don't think so. I mean, Paranormal Activity was popular, but not like that.
No,
not the way Blair Witch reached.
No, and it wasn't. Look, the original Paranormal Activity was very popular, but it wasn't popular to that degree because it couldn't be.
Right.
Because people knew it wasn't real.
Oh, we knew the secret. Yeah.
Right. And once you know the secret, once you know how the trick is done, once you know it really, like I cannot overstate this enough. Again, I'm not saying everybody thought that. There were many people that got to the news that it was not real before others, but there was this, it was muddied water. The internet was very muddied. He said, she said, who said what? Did you hear about the truth about Blair Witch Project? Bob says it's not real. No, it's fucking real.
Didn't they actually have a missing persons page site?
They did. They had a site. They had a website. They did. They had a website that had missing people. They even had some newscasts, local newscasts, I think, got into it.
They made this shit like
it really
real.
Yes, until the movie came out, I believe, or maybe it was just before. I can't remember, but I think it was after when a couple of them appeared on like Leno or something like that, right? I mean, I saw them on
MTV.
The cat was out of the bag shortly thereafter. But again, because something you have to keep in mind too, nobody's connected, right? Nobody's connected like we are today in 1999. So it was very much, he said, she said, picking up the landline phone, calling, hearing word of mouth at your school or at the water cooler or at work. You couldn't scroll Screen Rant or Bloody Disgusting because they did not exist. You couldn't
talked about it with your people.
Right. So that kind of knowledge, that kind of information didn't flow as quickly and as spread out as information does today. When you know something is real today, you know it's real like that. When you know it's not real, as soon as the cat's out of the bag, it's everywhere. Everybody knows something is bullshit at the exact same time because it's everywhere today, for the most part, people. But back then, once the cat was out of the bag in 1999, some people knew about it, but there's still a huge portion that didn't. And then these people over here kind of knew about it. And then these people were arguing about it. And then these people were like, it was much more insidious because the free flow of information wasn't as fast and as strong in 1999 because there wasn't social media. There wasn't Twitter or Instagram or YouTube or Facebook or Snapchat or TikTok or blah, 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 all this stuff. None of it was there.
There was just the only thing.
If you didn't see it on the news,
AOL Instant Messenger.
Right, but if you didn't see it on the news, if your buddy, didn't know about it, you didn't know about it, right? And so it was, again, I know we beat this dead horse, but it was a very different time.
I had friends who thought it was real. And I kept saying, like, I just don't, I didn't know. I was kind of like, maybe it is. Like, I don't know for sure until I saw them I saw them first on MTV.
On MTV. Well, look,
and I was like,
I thought it was real.
I had friends who really argued with me that they really no, this is real. I know. There's video online. There's missing. I'm like, why would they put if this was the last footage of these kids? This is me thinking in 1999, by the way.
Yes.
Why would they make a movie out of this? But it was in the very initial release, it was really confusing. Some people thought it was, some people knew it wasn't.
100%. That's what I just said. It was very confusing because there was no social media. There was no, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever the case is, that you could go to. You couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't, I mean, there were like very archaic message boards, I guess, if you were dialed into that
right,
shit.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I forgot about that shit.
But who the fuck, but not everybody was dialed into that. I wasn't dialed into that. I mean, with all due respect to the people who were, you had to be uber nerdy to really be dialed into that at that time, right?
Yeah.
You know,
you were home with no life on a Saturday night.
You said exactly the same thing that I just said, which is absolutely true, is that once it started to be released, it came out in pockets. It was like a virus, right? Once the truth came out, it came out in pockets. Like, oh, these people now know the truth, but everybody over here still is in the dark.
Yes,
and then
it was very like not all at once. That is very.
It was
true.
segregated. It was segregated.
Yes. To find out that like, oh,
yes,
okay.
but because there was no social media, it took so long for everybody to get involved. My mom didn't even know it was. My mom rented it on VHS. This is how long it took my mother. My mother rented it on VHS thinking it was real. So
right. And probably debated you like, no, it is.
Yes,
real.
I told
like,
her.
Oh,
and she was pissed. She was pissed because I'm like, Mom, it's not. That's how long it took, right? Whereas if it was today and the word came out that it wasn't real.
We know in seconds.
We know everybody knows in seconds, and my mom would know maybe tomorrow. Right? You know, like it was so that's what this movie is up against. That's what this remake is up against. And I would like to think they know that. And because they know that and they can't tap into that same naivety and that same zeitgeist sort of thing, that this is definitely going to be a reimagining of the Blair Witch Project. It's not going to be just a remake of it. You can't do it. Who's it for? Because like you just said, for us guys who are now, middle-aged approaching 50, we already have the original. So who's this for?
Right.
They're going to want to remake it for a new audience, for the 19, 20-year-olds of today. And using the IP.
The same thing is like, well, I can watch the original, which is essentially the same thing, if it's done the same. So like, meaning like if we set this in 1994, but made for the 19, 20-year-olds today, again, these 19, 20-year-old kids say they're not naive. They get the game. They're gonna be like, well, I can just watch the original. Like, why am I going to go watch a movie that's essentially the same movie? So again, they're up against that. Like, you've got to come up with a hook that's going to bring people in so that we're like, oh, that does seem interesting. Let me go check this out.
Exactly. Yeah. What is the hook, right? What's the hook that this is going to be? Because I think you're right. I think now, I mean, if you hate the Blair Witch Project and you think it's a snooze fest, and there are a lot of people, there are a lot of people who do feel that way. Well, you might actually go because it's a modern take on it, and so it's going to have modern production value with modern editing and modern sensibilities and modern pacing, and it's going to be more of a modern, found footage movie where it feels all those things that I think are going to actually ruin the experience. And I'm not saying that they can't make a great movie.
Don't show the witch. I didn't like that they did that in the 2016
that's
film.
it.
Don't show the witch. Keep the witch always mysterious. We don't need to see her. But no. What makes that first film so good is you just don't know what the fuck's going on. And
that's it. Less is more.
Of the mind works so much better than here you go. The moment they showed her in that 2016 film, I was like, come on.
I know. And the 2016 film's not a bad movie. I didn't dislike the movie at all.
It had some good moments.
It did.
The overkill on the sound design.
But it was very, it was very modern. And so it didn't feel home movie. Like the Blair Witch Project genuinely, really does, whether you like the movie or not, whether you think it's a snooze fest or not, it really does feel like somebody's home movie. And
it feels like three kids went out to the woods, filmed themselves, they took the video and put it together. Go.
100%. When you watch something like Chronicle, which I actually really enjoyed, right? There's that home movie aspect to it, but there's still a lot of polish to it at the same time. There's a polish to the home movie kind of thing. A lot of modern day certainly the later Paranormal Activity films, right, have a polish to them. And so, but when you watch that Blair Witch film from '99, it doesn't just feel like one. It is one for all intents and purposes, because they really did just go out there. Anyways, we're beating a dead horse here, but it's true. I mean, this is so I like Tony, I'm sure, wait with curiosity to see what the hook is going to be. What is the angle going to be? What exactly is this remake that Blumhouse and Lionsgate are going to do? I've never heard of this director before. The director is a guy by the name of Dylan Clark, who is set to make his feature directorial debut on Universal's Portrait of God. I haven't heard of this movie, but the producers on that movie are Sam Raimi and Jordan Peele. So that's certainly good company to be in. So I'm not too familiar with Dylan Clark, but I'll have to familiarize myself with him, and maybe him and Blumhouse and whoever else is involved.
Maybe they got an idea that just seems to work.
Maybe they do, and I believe.
Or if Blum, I'm talking about Blumhouse.
Yeah.
Or it could be just a typical Blumhouse, like, let me get some cash, right? I don't care. Just let me get some cash. Let's use the IP. Well, I mean, that's how I feel it is sometimes with him. Like, he doesn't care. He's just going to use the IP to get some cash.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and his business is, making low budget movies that make a lot of money. So this new Blair Witch movie will likely be a movie that costs, I mean, I know his budgets have gone up
6
over the years, but I think he'll probably, I'd be surprised if this Blair Witch remake is over $10 million. I'd be surprised. I'd be very surprised.
I'd be very surprised.
Yeah.
If it's over 10, then to me, that's too much production.
Yeah.
If you want to really
depending on what the 10's going to
talk about.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're telling me you're spending $10 million, then you're making, to me, I feel like at that point, this is going to be polished. If you want me to believe that this is not going to be a polished, this is going to be a gritty, lo-fi, in-your-face type movie, then if I see a production budget of $100,000, then I'm going to be like, okay, now that will pique my interest more, because then I'll be like, okay, this is not going to be as polished.
Yeah.
I see 10 million, I'm going to be like, all right, well,
Yeah. Oh, I don't think it'll be 100,000, but that would be, then it becomes an experimental film for them, right?
Yeah.
You know
now
what I mean?
You're wondering, like, well, okay, like, what are you doing with that? Like, that's not a lot of room to play with.
That's not a lot at all. That really does tell me they're just sending a bunch of people into the woods and hope the hell they don't get lost or hurt or whatever. See, nowadays it's so different, right? Because the Blair Witch Project, the original, I stand to be corrected, but it may have been a non-union film. It may have been. Certainly the contracts we all know about.
Original?
Yeah. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I think it was not. I think it was not.
But it really was guerrilla filmmaking. Blumhouse can't do that. Blumhouse can't make a guerrilla film.
Right.
And so because they can't do that. And so because of health and safety and unions and all that kind of jazz.
So there is going to be some kind of a budget of something.
Oh yeah.
Going to be
No. And SAG will be involved and the unions will be involved because they have to. It's Blumhouse. He can't say, go out there and fart around for a while and then they die or something because they fall off a cliff. I mean, that would just be awful. So we know that's not going to happen. But when it was two independent filmmakers who had no name whatsoever and were just like, hey, we got this cool idea. Let's just throw this ad in the newspaper and hire these 3 people and see what happens. Yeah, you could totally do that when you've got no money and nobody to answer to. But
you could get away with a lot of shit in the 90s. Can't do that anymore.
Yeah. Well, you could still do that today if you don't have to answer to anybody and you're just, some guy with
usually you
15 grand, but yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, not in the studio system. No, but.
Right. No, I got you.
Yeah. All right. Let's move over to the chat room and see what all you are saying. A few super chats did come in. We got a new member as well. Thank you very much, Brian Flanagan. Thank you very much, Brian, for becoming a member. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Cocktails and dreams, baby. Cocktails and dreams.
There you go. Josh Stevens sends
that was his name in Cocktails.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay. I haven't seen the movie in a while. Josh Stevens sends in a member chat and says, I saw the original in theaters. I was 18 and it traumatized me because I didn't have the internet yet. See, that's the whole thing. Josh was just a year younger than Tony and I. So, not everybody had the internet, right? No. Crazy. Only way to recapture that is to do an actual paranormal investigation with a real possession, etc. Well, that would be interesting.
That's one way to go about it. Yeah.
One way to go. Yeah. Zigo or Skate 45 sends in $1.99. Thank you very much. Says could go the found footage route. He's just talking about what we were talking about earlier. Yep, could do that. Follows up, says you guys need to check out Upgrade from Blumhouse. I've seen it. Really good movie. Yeah, that was directed by Lee Winnell. I think that was one of the first movies he did with them, I think. Really good film. And then WM Productions also becomes a new member. Thank you very much. Level number 1. Thank you. Zigo follows up and says, so tired of seeing smartphones in movies, to be honest. Well, I think, we need to see them. They're a part of our culture and a part of our life. But I think what you probably mean is I'm tired of seeing them, as used as a crutch, or it's difficult, folks. It's really hard to, do horror movies and isolate characters when cell phones exist. You have to figure out ways to, around it, which is why you usually see the trope of there's no cell signal. And it's like, okay, well, that works, or they drop their phone in the water.
That's one of the things I love about It Follows, because you don't quite know what year this is set in, because there's modern tech in there, but there's no cell phones, right?
That's right. Yeah.
You got the girl using her, it looks like her, it's like a shell thing, but she's reading from it. So, okay, that's a tablet of, a modern type, but there's also a regular phone, like landline phones, and so it's that's why I've always felt like It Follows is almost kind of like a hyper dream type, movie.
Yeah.
And I thought they did a really good job with that by making it this could be modern, but this also could be not modern. And I like that. But I hear what he's saying. I mean, I think it just depends on what you're watching, So I'm a big fan of the Big Bang Theory, so I fully expect that the tech to be in there, because that's kind of that's part of the show. So I fully expect cell phones to be a part of it. But yes, if it's something like where, it's being overused in a certain movie and it just kind of takes you out of it, I get it.
Yeah, for sure. And then follows up again with Blair Witch in the 50s in black and white would be interesting. Ooh.
It's tough to do because you're talking about it's a found footage.
It would be tough.
What cameras are they using?
Yeah, that's it. What kind of cameras? Well, yeah.
Maybe
it'd be tough.
Yeah.
Mike Mack sends in a member chat, says the ending with Mike facing the wall, referencing the townsfolk lore that was explained earlier, was so effective and scary to me. You're not alone. I think a lot of people really were frightened by that.
Yeah. Well, except for my boys, they were pissed.
They were pissed. Yeah, that's right.
Dude standing in the fucking corner. What the fuck is this shit? So stupid.
That's it.
That's literally, I just remember waiting for us being so, angry. I don't mean just I'm underselling this, how just angry they were walking. I'm still kind of coming down off of my high, but they were pissed. Oh, they were so fucking bullshit. Movie just fucking ends. I don't fucking get what the fuck, dude. Chill out, man. It's just a movie.
Yeah. Well, that means they were really into it up until that point.
But they just couldn't.
Because nobody gets that angry at an ending to a movie they don't like.
They just were mad. I just remember them just being so mad about the ending.
That's funny. Tony's downloading Jennifer Love Hewitt photos. No, that was me.
That would be
a little laggy tonight. Glad to be back.
Campbell. I was downloading Nev Campbell.
Yes, Nev Campbell. That's right. 210 episodes of Two Dudes is remarkable. Yeah, it's hard to believe we've done 210 of these things. Imagine if we had done one every week for 7 years. We'd be at 5,000 or something like that.
We've been doing this for almost 10 years. That's what's even crazier.
It'll be 10 years in 2018.
Yeah,
crazy.
That's nuts.
Yep. No political undertones, please, says Zigo. I don't think there will be. Not in a Blair Witch film.
Oh,
that seems
in the
a little
movie.
strange.
I didn't remember us saying it. Okay.
No, in the movie.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. If it starts getting political and if there's some type of I'm so nauseous. I don't follow anything political. I don't get involved in politics. I'm so over it. keep it over there. If you like that, have fun.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the Blair Witch Project lends itself to something like that. I don't think, but we'll soon find out.
I get what he's saying, because there's always just seems to be just something got to slide in there. It's just like.
I know what you mean. And then he follows up again. Thanks for the super chats. Appreciate it. Thank you. It says, how does it feel to know you made one of the most franchise faithful fan films of all time? Well, that's very nice of you to say. Thank you. Hats off to you, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I've never really thought about it, to be honest with you. I know we have, and I'm very proud of the work that we did on both It's Me, Billy films. But I've never really thought about it in that way. I'm just happy that we were able to follow through on our vision and our promises. And if you're still waiting for your Billy 2 Blu-rays, they are coming. People are starting to message me, letting me know that they have received theirs and sending me photos and stuff. So they are coming. Don't worry, they are coming. Yeah, no, it's just nice. I mean, it was a lot of hard work. We put in a lot of hard work, a lot of effort. It wasn't easy, but we're very proud of both films. And I think it's just really cool to see people have them, or maybe didn't buy them, but will watch them online every year with Black Christmas. We've already had people say that, we do that now. And I'm like, that's amazing. And so that's really cool. So yeah. It's pretty cool. But yeah, no, we're very proud of it. And the intention was to create a faithful sequel in terms of tone and mood and atmosphere to the original, with the access, with the resources that we had. I mean, if we had $5 million, then obviously we would have just made a feature. But we had $250,000, so we had to make 2 shorts. And I think I'm very proud of the quality of the work that we were able to deliver, and we delivered on our promises. I will say that. No guarantees you'd like the movies, of course. I mean, we can't promise that, but what we could promise on, we delivered. So very excited for that, or very, very happy about that, I'll say. And then I think that's all the super chats at the moment, if I'm not mistaken. I think it is. Let me see here. Is that all the super chats? I believe it is. Tony, any ones you want to grab there? Any questions you see, or should we? How are you for time?
I'm trying to understand this. Like, I have to look at my phone at the super chat, guys, because my computer is just like dying on me here.
Okay.
So, what is he saying here? Were your friends mad at the ending of the Blair Witch, like you were when Seaside Park changed to SFNE? I don't understand that.
Maybe it's a football reference? Football reference?
Well, I mean, I know Patriots play at Gillette Stadium.
I'm not sure.
I'm trying to think of my teams I follow. My teams are the Patriots.
Maybe it's a college reference?
Well, Florida State, but Florida State's always played in Tallahassee. I'm not sure what you mean. If you can kind of clarify that, and then I can give you a proper answer, I will definitely do that.
There you go. Super chat from Mike Mac. Thank you, Mike. Says, have you guys seen the Michael movie? I thought it was a great experience celebrating an icon. I have not seen it. Have you seen it? Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
Not yet, no.
I'm going to believe, I'm excited. I'm going to see Undertone this weekend. It's out on streaming.
That's right. Yeah.
So
Undertone. It's a slow burn. If you like that kind of stuff, it's a slow burn.
I'm fully okay with that.
There you go. Yeah, you're a little wonky tonight in terms of your connection, but that's okay. It happens.
Yeah, I know.
We're making it through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Riverside
11,
Park. Oh, to Six Flags over New England. Okay, now I get the okay. Yeah, fucking yeah. Okay. So where we grew up in Connecticut, I'm not sure if I've shared this story, but we grew up in this area of Connecticut right on the Massachusetts borderline, near Springfield and Agawam, which was close to this little amusement park called Riverside. And essentially, it was kind of like in that corner of Massachusetts and Connecticut, a little bit Rhode Island, I would say. Riverside was just for us, like it was just our little amusement park. Oh my God, like we see a season pass, and like me and my friends, like especially like in junior high in the summertime, we were up there all the time. Parents would drop you off. And then there would be the parent pickup line at the exit of the park. Your parents would pick, it was always like we had a drop off parent and a pickup parent, and we'd just switch and whatnot. We'd stay at the park all day long. But then the moment they fucking sold to Six Flags, it changed, and it brought in just people from all over the place, and it got bigger. It lost that, cozy comfort feel to what it was to just us. And like a lot of people who lived locally to it stopped going to it for that reason, because the lines were ridiculously long and just like constant like fighting breaking out and shit like that, because just people just don't know how to act accordingly in a place anymore. And yeah, so like I mean I was pissed that they did that, but my friends legit, like I just remember them being really just I'm seeing their faces right now. Mad. They were legit mad at the end. Not like I wasn't mad that I was disappointed that Riverside sold it to Six Flags, but no, George and Wayne were they were pissed. Like they were just mad. It's like it's a movie. Chill. Like no, fucking screaming in the corner is so stupid.
That's funny.
Shit.
Yeah, I've never been to. I obviously here in the Toronto area we have Canada's Wonderland, which is a Six Flags park. I believe it is anyway, or Cedar Park maybe. I can't remember now. Anyways, Canada's Wonderland is huge park. Huge in the sense of that it's really popular. It's one of the most popular parks in North America. Lots of like 18 roller coasters I think we have here. It's really popular. So,
and then of course if you're also from that area, there's the iconic park, and I survived it. I have my ears kind of messed up from it, but survived Action Park. I went to Action Park. I survived Action Park. I got injured at Action Park.
Where's Action Park?
Everything you read about Action. Oh, you've never heard the story about Action Park?
Where's Action
Dude, you gotta
Park?
look at the documentary. It was in New Jersey. It was like basically like just think of like wild kids let loose, do whatever you want, and it's like, dude, you had kids breaking bones. You had kids I busted an eardrum on a rope swing. So like just swinging on a rope like this, and then you fall into some water. So it was like essentially like you had an alpine slide. It was like a water park. You had all sorts of different things, but it was not supervised at all. Wow. And I mean, I'm telling you, like the ambulance that was just constantly showing up there, picking people up because they were injured. But yeah, I was on this rope swing and I let go and I fell sideways and slapped my ear, and like I busted my ear. That was that, and when I was going down the alpine slide, like dude, we would haul ass down the alpine slide, and like some of us like flew off the damn thing because we weren't breaking shit.
Yeah.
It was just basically what is it, nicknamed Class Action Park? Yeah, because there were so many lawsuits. But yeah, like
I'm gonna have to look this up. Yeah,
dude, it is like the most everything about, like, if you went there and ever got to experience it like we did in the 80s and 90s, it lived up to its hype. I'm just like, it was insane that just the one day I only went there one time, and it was with my buddy, and I won tickets because I had a paper route, and I won tickets to go from, delivering papers and whatnot. I think I had the most return on my collections. Like everybody paid their bill on time or some shit. I don't know what it was. But like, I just remember like a girl broke her leg. A dude broke his arm. This is all when I was there. I busted my ear. You were just seeing people being carried like this, limping and shit from just getting hurt because it wasn't supervised. I mean, yes, they had workers there. Like, we're using that term loosely to kind of like keep some organization. I mean, they had workers in the food area for food and but as far as like inside, like there was no supervision at all, and it was fucking nuts.
That's crazy.
I don't think today today it couldn't. They couldn't function today.
Yeah,
because there'd be just way too many lawsuits.
That's crazy. King Gamer says, did you guys enjoy the ending of Stranger Things season 5, where were fans right in being upset with the Duffer Brothers? Well, I have a bunch of videos on my channel where I talk about my thoughts on the ending of Stranger Things season 5.
Oh, Brandon shared if you save it. Brandon shared you the link on a documentary on HBO.
Perfect.
Called Class Action. Yeah, so there you go. You check it out if you get a chance.
I will. So I got a bunch of videos on my channel where I talk about the ending of season 5 of Stranger Things. I'll just say this: I think it was the hatred for it. I didn't like season 5 overall as much as I liked some other seasons. There's a variety of reasons for that. I think the ending was better than sort of most of the episodes. I have said for a long time that I think 11 should make the ultimate sacrifice and die. That was not what a lot of rabid Stranger Things stans wanted. But I'm looking at it through the lens, a thematic lens. I think it is incredibly powerful if she does that, where a lot of fans were looking at it more emotionally, but she's this poor little girl who's never had a life and now she has friends and all this kind of stuff. And yes, you can look at it that way, but I quite enjoyed the idea of her making the ultimate sacrifice, because what she essentially does in that final episode is take agency. She's always being told what to do. She's never had her own sort of agency and autonomy. And that's why she gives the bracelet back to Hopper and says, I'm not Sarah, right? She's making the choice herself. Yes, it's the ultimate sacrifice. It's something that, you don't want her to do, and 11's my favorite character. It's not like I want her to do that. I don't want that to happen in a perfect world. No, but thematically and through a storytelling lens, it is the most powerful choice. The choice, she finally has autonomy, she finally has agency, and what does she decide to do with it? She decides to make the ultimate sacrifice to not only save her friends, but also save the world. That is mythic. That is legendary. The problem I have with that ending is the Duffers go, but maybe she didn't. And I'm just like, no! What are you doing? Oh, I know why I know what you're doing. So in 10 years, if you want to do a season 6 or a Stranger Things, together. Yeah, get the band back together. She maybe. Now, although I will say this, I do like how they presented it, because it was smart writing. You could interpret it as Mike's grieving. He is essentially, he needs to tell himself that story in order to be able to let go and move on. You absolutely can look at it through that lens, and it works, and they can never make another one ever again, and it totally works. I choose to believe, not in the ways that Stranger Things fans are believing in that she's alive. I choose to believe that she made the ultimate sacrifice, and the story that Mike tells at that table, he's a storyteller, right? The story he tells is his story. It's what he tells himself actually happened in order to be able to, kind of thing. There were people that said, yeah, but if you look, she didn't have a nosebleed. But there were a couple of early episodes in season 2 where she goes into the void and she doesn't have a nosebleed when she comes out either. So there's a lot of things, I get what Stranger Things fans are doing, but I will just say that I think the most powerful ending, and I said it 2 years ago when they started production. I have videos on my channel where I said, I hope she commits the ultimate sacrifice, because I can see it going in that direction. It makes the most sense to me. How can she live a normal life? How can she live a normal life after this? I know she's a little girl and it wasn't her fault, and she was experimented on, and she never had a family, and then she finally has friends. I know that's the tragedy of it. That's the tragedy of it, but that's what makes it mythic as well. She has the choice, and she makes the selfless choice to say, I need to go to save all of you and the world. Whoa. wow, that is powerful shit, man. That is powerful shit. It's less powerful. I need to pretend to go and sneak off and get in the sewer and run away and somehow get to Iceland without a passport. I have no idea, but that's how I'm going to. It's less powerful. It's cozier. It's warm, fuzzier. It's, oh, yay, she survived. Oh, there's the. Yes, absolutely. It's much more cozier, but it's not as powerful. It's not as mythic, in my opinion. And so that's how I feel about it. Season 1 is still my favorite. I think it's the best season out of them all because it is the absolute perfect example of what Stranger Things was supposed to be. Kids in the 80s riding their bikes, getting into some weird supernatural shit. I like the other seasons too, but season 1's my favorite. But anyways, diarrhea there. Tony, your thoughts?
The only part I kind of got like antsy, and I remember like not shouting, but like I was with Christina watching it, and I was like, no, because I thought they were killing Steve off. That's my favorite character, Harrington. Talk about a character who grew.
Steve
right?
the Hair Harrington?
Kind of this, like, yeah, he was just kind of like one-off character, and he wasn't supposed to go beyond season 1, and then like he turns into kind of like the hero of the story.
His arc is great
in some ways. Yeah, it's well written. His chemistry with Dustin, I just give me a spin-off show with those two in a row. The chemistry between them as actors is really good. I think for me, as the kids became older, it lost the same charm. Because I think what resonates, and I know you can agree with this, what resonates with me with season 1, 2, and 3, where they're still kind of young kids, is that essentially is take away the science fiction aspect of it. Childhood. That's what our childhood was like. I can connect with it on that sentimental level of like, this is my childhood, man. I'm watching my childhood. This is what we did with friends and shit. And yes, we would play those types of imaginary games and stuff like that. As it got old, season 4, I'm still with it a little bit. The only thing I don't like about season 4 is the Russian stuff. Like it kind of every time literally when I was rewatching it, prepping for the final episode here, I would fast forward right through the Russian stuff. Like I was like, okay, I don't care about that. But the other parts of season 4 were really good. I found it interesting is that Jonathan's buddy there, the stoner, he was like a one-off character. He was going to be on in season 5, which made I don't understand what happened there. I don't know if it was a conflict in his schedule, but like there was just no mention of him, like just nothing. Like it was almost like he never existed, which was so weird because you see him show up with them in Hawkins at the end of season 4. He's there at the house when they show up in the van with Elle and Mike and whatnot up at the Wheeler house and whatnot. So it's like, all right, well, what the hell happened to that dude? But Will getting powers and stuff, I was like, all right, whatever. Like, you got to do something with the character, right? Because the character at this point, outside of the first season, which is really, he's the, him and Elle are like the heartbeat of the show. And that's what the show is centered around. And then, okay, they bring it into season 2, and I get that, but it's like, how much further are you you're almost beating a dead horse if you're continuing to focus in on Will. So they do get away from it a little bit in season 3, although he's still connected, to, it wasn't Vecna at the time. What were they calling it in season 3?
The Mind Hive or the Shadow Monster?
Mind Flayer, I think, or something like that. So he was still connected and whatever and whatnot. But like, I think for me, they really should have done it in a 3-season trilogy. Like, I think once you get to 4 and 5, it starts to really like the vibe is just not there. And season 5 to me was just, I don't know, like it was all right. It wasn't bad.
Well, season 5, I think, was weaker than 4. I think the criticisms that people had with season 5, I agree with. Even the ending. But I will say that
like I didn't hate it. I just didn't love it. It was
it was just it was past it it was seeping into narrative exhaustion is what was happening with Stranger Things. And but I mean, it could have been worse. It could have been better, but it could have been worse. I thought the epilogue was quite well done. And the very ending with Mike seeing his sister running down the stairs with her friends and the music and everything. It's the symmetry of that is great. There's a social media post I made before season 5 was ever released. And I was trying to find it there. I can't find it. I don't know what month I wrote it in, but I said I would love to see the ending where it's all of them playing Dungeons and Dragons in the basement. There's the heavy absence of, yeah. And I said this before the show was even, released. There's the heavy absence of Eleven not there. And we sort of, we pull back and we see them playing and we cut to black and that's it. Now you look at the ending of season 5 and it's a bit different than what I had predicted or wanted to see, but the spirit is the same. And I'm not some savant, many people could have predicted that, but I look at story and I look at the story and I look at the arc and I look at the trajectory of the story. It makes sense that you would come back to that. It would have been very strange had they not come back to that. And it ended with them all just kind of, I don't know, on some yacht in the Caribbean or something. It just would have been weird. You've got to come full circle with that. I'll also say this. I watched the 2-hour documentary on the making of season 5, and there were people that were, these are largely people who don't understand the filmmaking process, don't understand the industry at all. They were calling out the Duffer Brothers and saying, look at this, look at that, look at this. They didn't even have a script for this, they didn't have a script for that. Look at these two people. They're sitting in a room and they're going, I'm not really sure. I don't really know. You got to, all this kind of stuff. And they're yelling. The vitriol online, just tearing the Duffer Brothers apart, honing in on certain aspects of that documentary infuriated me. I wish I had a larger following where I could set the record straight. And it's like, I watched the documentary, and as somebody who has made films, I can tell you that all I am seeing are two filmmakers in the process. And there are two filmmakers who are disagreeing in the process. They're working through the process. Yeah, it's a great documentary. It's a great documentary that gives you insight into how difficult it is to make television shows and movies at that level. You have hundreds of people, millions of dollars, many different departments, and you don't always agree. And they are brothers who are co-directing and co-writing everything. Bruce and I didn't always
agree. Let me tell you, speaking as a brother, you don't get to agree with your brother.
Well, you don't. Bruce and I didn't agree on everything with It's Me, Billy, right? There were things he wanted to do that I didn't really care about. There are things I wanted to do that he didn't really care about. When I say don't care about, I mean that, wasn't really what he was feeling in terms of how he wanted to go. And so there are times where we would compromise, go, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? If you watch the behind, I don't know. If you have the Blu-rays of both films, you can watch the BTS and you can see it. It's on a much smaller scale, of course. This isn't Stranger Things. This is a $250,000 production rather than a $250 million production. But the principles are the same. When I watch the documentary, I look at departments rolling their eyes going, fuck, how are we going to do this? Like, they want us to do this. They want us to get, well, I guess we're going to have to build these sets. And you're looking at, not everybody's jovial, and it's a very stressful environment. It doesn't mean they hate each other. It doesn't mean that they can't stand each other. You're just looking at a collaborative, creative environment at the highest levels in filmmaking in the world on one of the hottest television shows in television history. And you are looking at people in their process, disagreeing and agreeing, maybe arguing a little bit over an idea, or not really sure what to do, or rubbing their faces. I can't tell you how many times I saw a GIF of one of the Duffers rubbing their faces and it being used as evidence of incompetence. It's like, no, he's rubbing his face because he's fucking stressed, because he's got deadlines and timelines and figuring out what to do and all this kind of stuff. When we're writing these episodes and writing those episodes and got to get this time and got to that time. We got producers and executives. That's what it's like at that level. I'm not saying it's always like that. Every production is different, but I didn't see anything but the filmmaking process in Hollywood. And that's what it's like. And so it ain't all sunshine and rainbows, as Rocky would say, right? Not everybody's sitting there and so.
Well, and here's the thing too, when it comes to most television shows that are famous, I would say it's so, if you reach that level of popularity with your show, it is so hard to give everyone the ending that you want.
Correct.
I mean,
100%.
You're gonna. It's nearly. There's very few there's very few shows I can think of off the top of my head that like MASH that sticks the landing. Cheers stuck the landing. Like
Seinfeld didn't. Seinfeld
did not stick the landing.
Nope.
I don't know. I mean, I think Seinfeld is like an OG troller before trolling was a thing, because I think he's trolling people in that just to piss you off.
Yes.
You know, I think that's him and Larry David did that just to fucking like, all right, you know what? Fuck you guys. This is what we're gonna do.
That's it.
Like, you know, it's just hard. It's when you're on a successful show and you're thinking about, you know, how do we bring this to a nice, you know,
there's a lot of expectations. There's a lot of people that are, you know, and you're not going to please everybody, which is why I understand why the Duffers did what they did with 11 and the ending of Stranger Things season 5. I get why they did that, but it disappoints me, because I think just do it. Just commit.
Oh, I bet you behind closed doors, they wanted what you want, what you know, like, let's
probably
end it, like, definitively.
She dies
because they know,
yeah,
right? Because they know the world we live in and the outrage, right?
Yeah,
they're like, oh, we gotta leave. We gotta have a caveat here.
They
gotta. But
yes, they tried to have their cake and eat it too.
When that happened, I was like, dude, no.
I know. Like, don't get me wrong. I really like, you know, as I said, the way they spun it, where you're like, okay, that's smart. Is it a story? Is it not? You know, well, it is a story he's telling, because Mike was not there when he saw it. But what gives the audience hope is that he's not just verbalizing the story. The show actually shows images of his story. Well, those images aren't necessarily saying the images you're seeing are true, but they give you the impression they are because you're seeing them. Oh, Mike's saying exactly what happened. No, Mike wasn't there. How the fuck would he know? He wasn't there. But it gives hope for the audience. I understand why they did it, but she committing the ultimate sacrifice is way more powerful.
I know. I would like, that takes so much balls to do if they had pulled that trigger and stuck with it.
Yes.
And nope. She's, you know,
well,
that takes a lot of balls to do.
I thought they did. Like, because we didn't know until the very end scene when he starts telling his story. But right up to that moment, I'm like, fuck yes. Oh my God. I'm like, really, yes.
Because I kept waiting for her to maybe show up. And then as it was not happening,
yes, I
started to like, I just remember they really killed her. They went there with it.
Yep. And there were so many people.
And then the whole, I'm like, here we go.
But maybe, and like I said, I did a bunch of Stranger Things videos at that time, and collectively, I think I did 3. Collectively, they got over like 40 or 50,000 or 40,000 views or something like that. So there were a lot, and I had a lot of people that were chiming in that were not regular followers of mine. So they have no idea who I am or how I talk or, you know, the perspective I come from. And
I pissed everybody off.
Oh, I had a lot of, you just want her to die. And I'm like, no, I don't want 11 to die, but I recognize her arc and I recognize how powerful it would be for her to make that choice. It's mythic. It makes sense. How can she have a normal life? Why do you think she ran to Iceland if you believe that? Because she can't have a normal life. And so it makes it, to me, it's sad that she would have to do that.
It puts her in a conversation like very similar, like, you know, a lot of people have made this comparison to the I don't care about this new Matrix, but the first 3, Neo's story being very similar to Christ, and, you know, he sacrifices himself to save Zion and, you know, and whatnot. Essentially, that's 11, right? She sacrifices herself. It almost becomes like a Christ-like character, you know, and she, you know, it makes it more powerful. You know, like, everybody has a happy ending, you know, like, okay, you can do that, but it doesn't, there's no weight to that.
Right.
You know?
No,
it's just like, all right.
And it's a beautiful, teachable, it's a wonderful, teachable, like that scene between Hopper and Mike is beautiful. and what Hopper is saying and the lessons he's telling him. You know, you can either go this way and become this person, or you can go that way and become that person and live the life she knows that you would want her to live and to live on. And, to live on with her name in your heart, because she would want you to do that. If she's alive and they get together again in the future, it just dilutes all that. The meaning, the moral, the message, the mythic nature of that ending. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? Why would you go, gotcha? No, commit. So that's the only thing that I was a little disappointed on, even though I choose to believe she is dead. Not because I hate her, but because it's powerful. Wow, she finally...
hate her, Dave. You're a hater.
No, but she's old enough now. She's, in the show, she's like 16, 17, but she's this young, almost an adult. Her character's, no, dad, no Hopper. Here's, the bracelet back. I'm going to take... She finally has autonomy and agency, and that's the choice she makes. That is incredible. That's like, there should be a fucking statue on City Hall of her in that fucking town. You know what I mean? Just incredible shit. Anyway, let me just quickly, I know a couple other super chats came in. Let me just quickly get these. Dave, do you ever go to amusement parks? I do. Canada's Wonderland. I've been to Disney World, Universal Studios, things like that, but not on a regular basis or anything. And then Nocturnal Frequency, Steve Janier, fellow Canadian. Hey, Steve, what's going on? Says, Dave, maybe we need to bring you along for a real paranormal investigation. That might be kind of fun. I haven't been on one in a long time. Well, you know how long it's been since I've been on one. So I've been on one in a long time. Yeah, that might be kind of fun. I'm always up for an abandoned excursion at some point if our schedules can align. And then I think that's it. I think I've got all the super chats, member chats, things like that. Tony, this was a good show. Yeah. Folks, that is going to do it for this episode of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Thank you to the super chats that came in today, the member chats. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching after the fact, jump into the comment section and let Tony and I know your thoughts on anything we had to say here today, of course, but more specifically, the Blair Witch Project remake with Blumhouse and Lionsgate. What do you think? Do you agree with what we had to say? Do you disagree with what we had to say? What is your perspective on the Blair Witch Project remake? We don't have a release date yet. It's still in development, but it's coming. They've got a director. What do you think, folks? Let Tony and I know. Tony, any last things you'd like to say?
Just really appreciate those of you who I know, Dave, you did really nice for me here last week and followed me on YouTube. Dave shared my link, and I appreciate you guys coming over there supporting it. I'm also on Spotify now. I got my first track up there. It's gotten some positive feedback from people. So my link to Spotify is on my Instagram page and YouTube. So you can just go there and follow me and find me on Spotify.
Amazing. Yeah, folks, follow Tony on YouTube if you're not subscribed to him yet. What's the name of the?
It's just Anthony Michael Mix, AMIXX. It's pretty much across the board. You're gonna find it on YouTube, TikTok now. I just launched TikTok this week and Instagram, and it's Anthony Michael Mix. On Spotify, it's just Anthony Michael, but it's this crazy long URL, and it just will be too long to say. So you can just go to either my Instagram or you can go to my YouTube, and in the About section, you'll find my direct link to Spotify, because I've actually got music that I'm going to be releasing over the next several weeks, several tracks that are already in the pipe that the distributor that I'm going through is getting everything set up to get the tracks released on Spotify.
Awesome. Amazing. I just put the link to your YouTube channel in the chat, so go over there, give it a like, give it a subscribe. Tony would really appreciate
and thanks, guys,
that.
for the support. I appreciate it. I do. I really appreciate the support you guys are giving me right now as I'm in this new adventure here.
Yeah, for sure. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. We'll be back soon with another topic very soon. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. All righty. Cheers.